of another meeting to us, but she said, oh, for us to consider some, some role.
Amy Gunther
Yeah.
is unavailable tonight, but she's got this. It's for you and Sammy Dennis on that. John Apis will attend tonight.
Yeah, one more of those.
Yep, right, yeah.
Mine.
Oh,
This might be going over the last line.
you're a brilliant works man.
I did.
You're in this
Yeah, it
board
didn't-
for sure.
Didn't go over well. It's just,
Sure.
let's just say it didn't go over well.
Yeah,
And I feel bad about not being important.
right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Right, you're right. Okay. Reason. Yeah. Plus, you know, it's pretty nice that they're organized and I think that nice place to go after. So where's that money go to? They pick two different people over here. One with the Strider and
All on the same page.
That temporary points.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, I don't in the chainsaw again this year. Sure.
Bye. Mr. Maskey. And all set. Thank you. Calling the meeting to order. Roll call. Mr. Thou.
Here.
Ropperman.
Here.
Mr. Fletcher. Here. Mr. Maskey. Here. We're all here.
I just was wondering about, move to add approving the minutes from the 310 meeting to the agenda. Since we always approve the minutes from
No,
the
this
previous meeting.
is a special meeting. I would rather have the meeting minutes be sent out prior, so we have time to review them. I feel that was a big meeting for us to review them at this meeting isn't a good idea because
I
have not seen
sent them to
it.
you, and then I had sent them to the office.
But I have
Yeah.
not seen them.
You did say, I did read them well. Is it okay if we just do them at our normal regular meeting, not the special meeting? Are you okay with that? I mean, we'll just
Yes,
do them then.
I just thought since we always do it at our next meeting.
Right.
that it-
Yeah.
This is a special meeting.
I see where she's coming from, but since you guys haven't gotten them,
So
we'll just We're meeting on Monday anyway, so
Okay.
a few days.
Can those be sent out tomorrow so we can review them prior to Monday's meeting?
Yeah. I can send them out tonight when I get home.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize that no one else had gotten them other than me. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen
Yes, sir, though.
Okay. You had just mentioned at the meeting you wanted them,
Yeah,
as soon as
and
I had them done.
yeah, and I read through them, kind of just went through them. I didn't think I was just thinking we were going to do it at a regular meeting as normal. And I didn't realize these guys hadn't got copies either, so or I would have.
I'm making.
We're going to close the planning commission meeting to open up a special meeting.
So
I need a
call. You make a motion to close?
Yep, I make a motion to close it.
I'll second.
All ayes.
Aye.
Yes,
Aye. All right, close it. The motion to open up the special public hearing.
I'll make the motion. Open up.
Second it. All ayes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the first one is on Mark Sherry Morris for the proposal of the special land use. Parcel identification number 017-001-00-1100-1100 located at 3025 Orchard Lane, Millington. Review. Already approved short-term rental, special land use approved document, content of corrections. Public comment. Are there any public comments on this?
I do. Just want to say, Robert Loomis, 1563 West Millington Road. I just want to say on March 22nd, 2024, the Township Board had multiple discussions with Ed Botsky, Luann Derzell, and requirements for liability insurance, inspections, renewals, and many other requirements. Now I have heard several excuses about liability insurance and inspections about how it protects the township. My opinion is liability insurance, what if the homeowner doesn't have enough liability insurance or they let it lapse, someone gets hurt, the homeowner's property does not mean the township is on the hook, or doesn't mean the township is on the hook because it is a requirement and we fail to monitor the requirement. Inspections. If the township is required to do inspections and if someone gets hurt, are we liable for damages because we are not qualified to do inspections? At the meeting, we came to the conclusion to leave the extra requirements out of the amendment so the township doesn't get drawn into a potential lawsuit. After listening to the planning commission meeting on February 10th for 4 hours and 22 minutes, the only thing the zoning administrator and myself can agree on is a requirement set forth in the amendment needs to be incorporated in the special use permit. I believe that we, as a planning commission, and as the Tuscola County Planning Commission and the Township Board, what we agreed on in the amendments, that should be the requirements in the special land use permit. That's my opinion. So
What requirements?
the requirements that's in the amendment for the short-term rentals, A through E. I don't know if you have them. I got a copy I can get.
Go to the north. It's on there.
Oh, you have any, Brooke? I got it.
I got them if you need them.
A through E.
No, not those. He'd be speaking of this amendment here.
Amendment that we agreed on.
That went through the procedures. Okay,
Okay, I guess I'm lost here.
so this is, I'm assuming, Robert Loomis, this is the amendment that you feel we should.
The one that we passed as the planning commission, Tuscola County Planning Commission, and also the township.
So what he's referring to, Doyle, is,
The requirements A through E.
should I get to him? Second, where? Yes. This actually, these requirements, all these requirements that are in this document, okay?
It's
You're saying these A through E
Yeah,
here?
A through E, right here, requirements, A through E.
But actually,
What happened, Doyle, was we agreed on these requirements. And when they came out in a special use permit, there was a lot of extra requirements that we argued against. With Ed and Luann on the planning commission that we didn't think was necessary. And so once the special land use permit came out, it was added back in.
Could you just quickly list what A through E says so I can get them in the minutes? Just the copies.
You make a copy if you need.
This isn't,
Or that, yeah, that'd be helpful.
this
Yeah.
isn't A through E?
well, it's a repeat of it. It's actually a repeat of it. So but you're basically saying that you want to only include the requirements that are listed in the,
Well, yeah, I feel that's what we agreed on. You know, as a planning commission, Tuscola County Planning Commission, also the township board, that's the ones we agreed on. I think that's what should be on the special land use permit.
which is items that are in section 10 of the
Where it
amendment.
says requirements.
Yes.
Yes.
It'd be everything in section 10.
Well,
Because this also says property owner must ample parking and all that stuff too, okay?
okay.
Yes. So it's everything in section 10.
Well, yeah, I was looking at the requirements.
Well, that's just, it's just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Read the letter.
See the letter?
Where's,
The stuff wasn't supposed to be in there.
Well, hold it there.
Subject, public hearing submission 3/6/25. Dear board members, please include this email in the public hearing on 3/6/2025 and read it aloud. Additionally, kindly print the attached images for the board's reference during the meeting. My name is Nicholas Aquino, and I own a home on Murphy Lake at 3132 Houston Drive, Millington. This message is regarding the short-term rental property next to my home owned by Paul and Renee Dudley. According to our ordinance, a setback is defined as the distance between the base of a building and a road right-of-way or property line. Section 5.02 for special land usage defines the minimum setback as 100 feet. The ordinances regarding fences state where a lot borders a lake or stream, fences on the front waterfront yard shall not exceed 3 feet in height, nor otherwise unreasonably restrict the views of the water from adjacent properties. I'm unsure if anyone has inspected our properties, so I've attached photos to illustrate the proximity of the Dudley rental to my home. From what I understand, the Dudley property was approved with the condition of erecting a fence between my home and theirs. Please review the attached images. For those unable to see the images, the 3 pictures showing a 9-foot, 4-inch distance between the Dudley home and my home. They depict our upper decks, which are very close to each other. Regarding the fence, a fence of any height would block my view of the lake, violating the ordinance. It would also fail to shield me from the noise and the view of rental activities. If the board deems a fence a suitable compromise for this home to operate as an Airbnb, because you recognize the homes are too close. Since a fence cannot be erected due to multiple ordinance requirements, height and view obstruction, this property should not receive a special land use permit for short-term rental operation. Please use common sense. This proximity is too close for comfort. Sincerely, Nick Prina. And then I think we've all got the picture from the packet. Second letter from Tamara Maskey. Please read my letter and include it in the administrative files found below at the March 6, 2025 Planning Commission special meeting hearing on special land use approval document content corrections. To the Millington Planning Commission, just because you are a public servant funded by taxpayers does not mean you are a servant of the public. A servant of the public follows the rules, laws, and works to provide the public with security, safety, and justice, making peace for the majority while following the ordinances, guidelines, and master plans that fosters harmony for the public, while not serving themselves, friends, and/or special interest. To do otherwise is unlawful, unethical, and immoral. Only one member of the Planning Commission was elected by the people. The other 4 members were appointed, which opens the door wider for unscrupulous backroom good old boy deals. Not following the script of the township ordinance and laws is a more violent violation and undermining of democracy than insider trading that corrupts our country. The management of the township is governed by a 3-legged stool: the township board, the township zoning administrator, and the township planning commission, with oversight by the ZBA. All legs of the stool are supported by equal responsibilities of management. If one leg of this management breaks and/or doesn't follow the rules and ordinances, then the stool or township falls down and leaves the taxpayers without their civic rights and honest democracy. The Millington Township Zoning Administrator has attended more education and training workshops and conferences in the last year and a half than all the Township Board and Planning Commission members collectively. The zoning administrator has proven that items E through I of the special land use conditions of these permits are put in place to equally protect the township, the people, and the applicant or owner. The zoning administrator has provided proof of these recommendations not only by the Millington Township Association, Michigan Township Association, but also by the township's own legal counsel, thus proving that these items E through I are the best practices of state townships and are totally in the best interest of the township, the people, and the SLUP applicants. To not include these practices and recommendations for Millington Township puts the township at risk with higher liability that shortchanges the taxpayers and potentially costs the township more money by opening the township up for more litigation and lawsuits. I ask the Planning Commission to do the right thing and keep these items in the SLUP permits, which you have already added and signed. If you remove these conditions from the permit, you are not only costing the township more money by hosting this hearing and undoing what you have already done, but will also provide further proof that this planning commission operates in the best interest of themselves and special interest individuals and not the township and its taxpayers. Thank you, Stephen Lake, Murphy Lake resident and property owner. So,
No one else out in the audience wants to comment this time? All right, so we're going to move on. So we're going to review.
So the next step of public comment would be we would close the public hearing according to our agenda.
Right.
Right.
I move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Ayes.
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
wait.
So
Who seconded? Ed?
okay.
Thank you.
So we've all had time to.
So our next step per the agenda is I move that we open the planning commission meeting.
Second.
Ayes.
Aye.
Aye.
Now we can move on to the new business of discussions.
Right. So we've all had time to go over and really look at everything. So what's taking place with all of this is obviously the administrator added some stuff to this that she felt was needed. And I had a great oversight of signing a couple of these. We approved some of these without removing this because we as a board thought that it was something that the township board had gave blessing to do so. And then now there's a difference of an opinion. So they should have never been put in there. And if it's something that wants to be added to our special uses permits in a later day, It's in my opinion that it needs to go through the process. It needs to be done the right way and then amended to our ordinance and adopted to our ordinance in the proper procedure as we keep getting in trouble for. So that's why we're here tonight. We're here because I have an opinion that they should have never been added without being part of our current ordinance.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
And I do definitely agree with that because these Millington special use permit document that you were signed, they were actually brought in during the meeting, the beginning of the meeting, and end of the meeting. We never really had a good opportunity to even review them before they were signed. And that's one thing we need to do in the future is make sure these documents are sent out to us so we can review them. We don't so we have a good time to look at every I, every T, make sure they're dotted and signed correctly.
And
Also, it was stated that we may not have the right to change this. However, during the last zoning board of appeals meeting, there was a statement by the chair of the zoning board of appeal that the planning commission can update the requirements per item P in the Morris's, that we can do it any time. So
we can do it on any of them at any time.
we can do it on any of them at any time. So we're utilizing that today to make these corrections.
In regards to special procedures, there was some question as to whether everybody had been properly notified. So Tammy sent me the list of who had been notified the first time before, in the very beginning of these special use permits, and we've got one for each one. And I checked with Jackie today, and I double checked with her to make sure she used the same list as back then, and she did. So we can note that all proper people were notified of this meeting, same as in the very beginning. But that's a point that should be clarified, and we got that taken care of.
So we do
That's
have
why
proper
we had these
notification.
lists. Yeah, notification. There's just 2 that returned because the wrong address or whatever, but everybody else was notified.
So what I would like to do after we have our full discussion is to walk through the Morris's document, and I've highlighted some concerns. I'm sure probably other people have, and we vote on what I feel what I'd like to see changes. Okay, and we make sure we vote on every one of them. But that we still need. I'm saying this after we have our full discussion. Okay.
And this point number 2 from the lawyer's opinion will apply with regard to the discussion here too. If you get a request from the permit holder, that's when we move forward.
But per what's listed in the document today, and that's been confirmed by the zoning board of appeal, we don't need the document from the homeowner.
Correct. But he's saying that there should be a request. So if there's anything in writing, I am supposed to note that in the minutes. And if it wasn't, we need to note how that request came to us.
I would say they brought this on by the zoning board of appeals. They brought it to the township of the concern that these things were implemented into their permit without being voted on by the planning commission.
And number 2 says, so I would like to know if each permit holder on the agenda for tonight has requested a change to their permit. If they have, I would like a copy of the documentation to support that request to include with the minutes. Doesn't say they have to have, you have to have a request. Not saying in here that each one of them should have applied for a request. He just wants to know if they did.
Yeah, and if they didn't, why are we changing something? So it follows that they must have had a request.
Well, we can, per the chair for the zoning board of appeals, we basically can use item P and Morris's. Commission may, upon the request of the applicant or on its own initiative. I'm going to say it again, or on its own initiative.
Okay.
well, let me finish, modify the requirements of this permit upon such findings of need and justification upon a formal special use permit amendment being made under the same procedures for adopting a permit. So
Okay.
we've had our meeting.
That allows us to do it.
Yes.
He's saying we need to be very clear why we're doing it. Was it their request? If it was or wasn't,
Yeah.
then if it's the board's idea, then we need to find the need and justification that he lists in 3. This is to cover all our bases. This is not pointing fingers. This is so we get it right.
So we would want to say, we want to make a motion that the
What-
board requested this.
Well, Mark and Sherry requested for us to go back through this. They requested it.
A number.
And Dudley requested it too.
But they were all verbal requests.
Oh, no, the zoning board of appeals was a request.
Okay,
the
well,
zoning
then
board.
I just need to know if they were
Right,
verbal
but-
requests, or if you're saying the zoning board of appeals told us they did on this one, the other 2, we want to make it clear how they requested it.
So Mark and Sherry appealed it.
Mhm.
So there was their request.
Mhm.
And their request to the ZBA, their answer from them was take it back to the planning commission and let them decide what they're going to change it.
So I can make it out of that.
Right. And on the decision of some of the planning commission members, we made a decision to go over the other 2 because it has the same thing added to them.
Okay, so when we
The
get to
township
that-
supervisor said to us, those weren't supposed to be in there. I feel that you should entertain to remove those out of
well,
that.
just when we
Along
get
with
those
the
motions, we have to make
Central
that clear.
County Planning Commission
Right.
also.
So the board is doing the other 2, but Sherry and Mark and Morris's was their appeal went to the ZBA, and the ZBA sent them back to us.
Okay, I just, so that everybody knows when
Right.
you're making the motion, those are the things we need to cover.
All right. Well, at least they'll have them covered. So you guys, on these that have been put in there, on all of them, L is liability insurance.
So I guess there's a lot, and there's even items up front that even in the 3 items that we wanted, there's some concerns on those. What I would like to do is actually walk through this document. And when we identify an item, we talk about it, we vote on it, and say if we want to change it.
That would make it easiest for me doing my minutes.
No, let's do it.
I would appreciate that.
Let's walk through the whole thing.
Okay, so when I look at the Morrises and I look at item 2, status of permit, it reads, permit shall be conditional upon the applicant meeting all necessary residential building, health department, and safety codes. However, that same verbiage is in our zoning ordinance. It's just a repeat of what's already in our zoning ordinance. I feel that should be just changed to status of permit is approved. Why do we repeat something in this that is already in our zoning ordinance?
It makes it clear and it puts it right up front. It sure doesn't hurt to have it there. We're not going to take this all apart. When you've got something there, it may be repeated elsewhere. Maybe that just
But
proves how
then
important it
we
is.
should be repeating the whole thing every place. I mean, we have a zoning ordinance amendment that we should be following. Every time you paste and copy it to different areas, it's an opportunity for an I to change or a T to change. And we need to stop that. We need to stop
We're
that.
going through this permit in front of
But
us.
that's our discussion on it.
Yeah, it is this permit right here.
Yeah, then
Yes.
what is he,
He's referring to,
does not have an expiration date, status of the permit.
yeah.
Status of permit.
It's conditional
So
upon
was
meeting
that-
all those codes.
Was that in the original document that we put out there?
Yes.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's, again, it's part of the amendment that went to the Pascola board, the amendment that the township board approved. So there's no need to recopy it in here. To me, what's the status? The status should be pending new information needed, or whatever. To me, status this permit is approved. Why would we not say the permit's not approved?
Because if at any point any of these things change, there is our reason to take another look at it.
But those items are already listed in the
I think it's
amendment.
good to have it right in front of you. If you're looking over the permit, you got number 1, is that it? Number 2, is that it? There's no reason to take that out. That is for everybody to be on the same page. This permit, okay, as long as it meets all the necessary residential building health code, safety codes, it's good. Move on to the next one. You don't have to go back and forth to the ordinance around. It's right
But
here.
our ordinance is what you should be
And that's what
adhering
it's
to.
doing, Ed.
But then, so you took this one little paragraph out of the ordinance and you put it in this section. Why
Because-
didn't you put all 15 items in there?
Because this section is where it applies. If you have further questions of, okay, what does the health department say? You go to the health department. What are the safety codes? If you want to look in here, you can, but this needs to stay. This is just.
I guess I'll agree to disagree.
Okay.
With that, I'll make a motion that the current verbiage that is under status permit is removed and changed to approved. Do we have a second?
I could agree to putting status for permit approved on there, but I don't understand why we need to remove the status of the permit. Why didn't she type status for permit approved on the final copy?
She didn't.
Right. I mean,
And again, you know,
I mean-
I guess where I'm at is, if you pull it up in here, this is what we need to be saying that they adhere to, is this amendment, okay? And in this document, that exact verbiage is defined. So why do we need to move that into another area where it's not really relevant?
but if you took out the status of the permit and you just put approved, number 2, all you're going to see is approved. You're not going to know what was approved.
That's exactly
Well,
right.
what we would add later is part of the permit conditions, okay? We will add, and that's what I had showed the group last time. If you go, well, I don't have it here, but we would add a section that says permit conditions per zoning ordinance. And we make that in compliance with section 10 of the Millington zoning ordinance, STR amendment 041524.pdf file. So we are then highlighting they have to be in agreement with all the items that are in this ordinance.
But they don't,
Right.
the people that have this permit aren't going to have all that extra paperwork. And they're not going to want to traipse in here to look for it. If they have this and they know they just got to follow all the rules, which when they got their permit, they obviously were following the rules, they're good. And they don't need all section thing and PDF file and all the extra. Let's keep it simple.
Why wouldn't you always refer back to your
document? We do when we do the ordinance or the permit. But you don't have to do it each and every time you look at the permit.
I haven't, in the past, when we approved a special land use permit, we've never in the past copied every word out of the ordinance into that document. We just started that, and I don't understand why we're not using
Because
our ordinance.
Tammy had pointed out in the past how some of the permits were so lacking, nobody even knows what was approved or what conditions were to be followed. Here, it's right in front of them in a very simple, easy to follow manner for both the applicant and the board.
But there's also, and when we get down through this, there's an item that was verbiage added to what was in the ordinance.
We discuss that when we get there. But this isn't what you're pointing out now. This is very clear.
So you're saying, Ed, in that permit status of permit, put in the ordinance reference, a reference
It'll
to
be,
what-
we would add that, we will add that as permit conditions,
Mhm.
that you put in permit conditions. And this is what I said to Elvin earlier. You would add permit conditions per zoning ordinance. And you identify in compliance with section 10 of the Millington Township zoning ordinance STR amendment, 04/15/24 PDF. And that is already even on our website. People have access to it. It's on our website. So they have ability to get that document.
But when
And why wouldn't you read the original document?
we read that original document when we make the permit, we don't need to add it. How many other pages you'd be adding to these things?
I'm not adding, I'm actually reducing.
One thing I would say is I would rather it be on the permit than it say what's current, because as the ordinances change, you could change their special use permit without them knowing. As the ordinances are amended, there's changes.
And that's where it's dated 04/15/24. So that document's written in stone.
But we already have to go back right now and dig out the other ones, and then people automatically think, well, now I'm not, people are going to think, well, I'm not in compliance because this is what it says. They're not going to realize that.
And one
I don't
point,
know. I mean, and my thing is because I have a variance, is I would rather have, this is what I have to follow. I don't want to go to the new ordinances and see on the computer that they've changed and they have somebody tell me, well, this is how it is now.
You're not signing up to a new ordinance again because it's dated 04/15/24. That is what this is written against. What was approved in April of this year.
I don't have a problem with that being on the special use permits.
Right.
But I don't mind it being in black and white for them too to see.
Well, but then where I
It should
become,
be in black and white when they get a permit.
If you ever
This is
seen
the
my
rule.
variance, you'd be
Period.
like, what?
but then again, and I'm going to bring this up because if you go to item N, and I'm going to jump ahead. Item N, if you look at the first two paragraphs of item N, is word for word what's in the ordinance.
Mhm.
It's just broken into two paragraphs. The third paragraph, no permit shall be revoked until the property owner, da, da, da. That is not in the ordinance, but it was listed on this document. That's why I want to say we should reference the ordinance. So when people copy and paste, they don't add verbiage.
number N, that is to give protection to the property owner, that we don't just yank it out from under them with no recourse. They have to get
But
notice.
that third paragraph under there is not in your, not our ordinance.
Not our ordinance.
It's not in our ordinance.
That's probably came from the suggestions from Michigan State and
Still,
as protection of the people and the township.
And absolutely, you have a legitimate statement right there. Absolutely. That is where it came from. But
And
the but is, we did not amend our ordinance to accept it. So we need to go back once we get through all this, and we need to look at these things. They need to be brought to us they need to be brought to us in a proper fashion. Say, hey, this was the training I did. This was the recommendations. We need to go through the process and amend these.
she has brought that to us several times.
And we never,
The explanations.
but we never amended them. We need,
We never voted on it.
No, right. That's what
We
needs
didn't
to be
ask for
done.
that to be in there.
If this is something that
That was put
needs to
in
be done, then we need to go through the proper procedures that we're getting beat up on right now about. And if this is something that we all think that should be in there, that's legitimately protection for, then it needs to go through the proper protocol and be amended properly to our procedures, then added, not just added.
These are some things though that the board can add because of common sense and other things. This is a protection that we didn't think of for the permit request person and the board. And as a board, we can decide to put these kind of things in there.
Absolutely.
Without it being in the ordinance.
You're 100%. You're 100% right.
This is a common sense.
You're 100% right, Lynn. You really are. I'm not disagreeing with you. But this board didn't agree to put that
Right,
in.
we didn't agree with it.
No,
Nobody agreed.
And I'm not saying, I told you, you're 100% right. But as a board, we have to discuss in tonight if we want to leave it in there or not. Originally, and once again, this board dropped the ball. We allowed somebody else to type up the final draft rather than somebody on this board type it up and bring it back for what the board approved. When that person typed it up, they added some stuff that, in their opinion, and in other people's opinions, was best for township, to protect the township from any type of lawsuits or anything against the people in the township. So I'm not saying it was done in a malice. It wasn't done maliciously. It wasn't done to hurt anybody on the board or hurt a certain individual. It was to protect the township. Issue is we as a board aren't the ones that did it. I mean, do you not agree with that? We didn't approve this to be in there, and it's not part of our ordinance. So if we as a board, as a planning commission, would have approved it and put it on there and typed it up, it would have malice. It should stay.
Because we did vote on it and it was in there. We technically did vote it in.
That's why we're here tonight.
That's why we're here tonight. We got it
because of these things that somebody just put into these permits that wasn't
on the original
by this board.
Hence why it went to the ZBA, and the ZBA said, "Take it back to the planning commission and let them fix it." So after we're done with this, we need to look at these and see if we need to adopt these to our ordinance
that'd be go through the procedure of
and do it
amendments.
properly. So then they're automatically part of the ordinance, rather than add them as we feel. Because what's going to happen if we add this to some of them and we don't add them to some other ones? And what's the next thing going to happen? Well, you added it to mine, but you didn't add it to theirs because they're a good old boy. That'll be the next thing.
Well, I guess sometimes you tailor these to what the request is.
And every one of them are
Like a
tailored.
dog kennel is going to have something greatly different than a short-term rental or a
So
pizza stand.
And that's why we have the ability to put in special conditions on a special use permit
I agree.
to make them fit the
that's why I
exact.
thought
That specific
Problem.
request.
Okay.
So, and again, that's where, I look at here, what's listed under section 10. You basically, they go A, B, and then you go items 1 through 10. And they list in sections A through E. And to me, when we start copying things into a different area, I was even trying to cross-reference it back and forth. And you gotta, to me, I don't know why we wouldn't just reference the ordinance. The ordinance is on the webpage. The ordinance is part of the official documents of the township. They'll always be available to the landowner to get the original copy. We don't need to recopy this information into this document. We should reference it, but we don't need to recopy it, because it just offers another situation where things are reworded.
Should we provide them with the correct ordinances along with their special permits? So at the point, and maybe make that point in here that they would get a copy of those ordinances that would be, subject to their short-term.
So what sections in this that you think should be removed in Mark and Sherry Morris's? You're thinking section 4, A through E should be removed?
So right now, what I was trying to do was get to where if there's something in the ordinance, we don't need to copy and paste it back into this document, because it just gives an opportunity for verbiage to change.
Okay, I understand that, but what parts of this are you saying?
So,
Other than the status of the permit?
So right now, that's what we're talking about. The status of the permit calls out a specific item that's already listed in the ordinance. Why are we relisting it?
So it's in black and white for what they need to adhere to?
Yes.
And so
No, but it's already black and white in the ordinance.
I understand that.
But you just said you'd give them a copy of the
Okay,
ordinance. Well, now they got 20 papers instead of 4 or 5.
I said maybe that would be a thing. I mean, we could always put the ordinance, your reference in that status too,
And that's what,
including what's already in there.
what my suggestion would be is right now under item 4, you have permit conditions. And what we really should do is have that in two sections. We have a section that says permit conditions per zoning ordinance. And we say, in compliance with section 10 of the Millington zoning ordinance STR amendment, dated, so that's dated 04/15/24. Section 4 then would be permit conditions per special land use meeting. And then that gets to where, yes, you have certain items you tailor, okay, to this special land use. And you break them out in two. One, you're listing what the ordinance says, they know where to find it, they can get it off our website, we get a copy to them. And the second is what we agreed to in our meeting.
I have two questions. When, like, we're soon to, we hope to get to redoing our ordinance, and get everything in order and add the amendments that have been done over the last 10 years. Is that going to make a change and then we have to go back and tell anybody who's got a special use permit, now the numbers have changed and now there's a new ordinance you're going to have to refer
They're
to?
going to reference back to the ordinance that's dated there.
Can I give you an opinion? Okay, so on these that we have in front of us, rather than completely redesign their special use permit, can we just look at them for what's here and go through these and then make any modifications if we agree on it tonight? And then is that something that we can sit down in a meeting and go over and discuss and maybe change the way that we do the special use permits from here forward? Rather than try and completely, because these guys have already seen this, and there's only a certain section that they're unhappy with.
But
the appeal was on a certain section.
There's other areas. I mean, you got the signability of permit. Again, it copies the exact wording that's in the ordinance.
And I understand that, but now you're wanting.
You got the permitted people, maximum 4. We all voted that's for overnight, and they made that for any time of the day. There's items we need to walk through.
And I'm okay with us walking through and changing some of the wording on A form. And I'm okay with, walking through every one of these and discussing them and making sure.
That's what we're here for.
Right. Yeah.
So to fix all this screw up.
Right. So why don't we fix it properly and do what I'm asking for is reference the ordinance. And it takes this 3-page document, okay?
And
it makes it a 1-page
this needs to be
document.
simple, so the people that come in,
But here's
they can get a permit and they know what they have to do.
And right there it is. It's simple, right there. That is clear and simple.
But now everything that's being referenced to this great big black book.
It's being referenced to this document.
Why can't you tell people what the requirements are for the particular deal they're in here for? What is wrong with telling them that the permit is conditional upon application of meeting and necessary health and building? That's simple. It's straightforward. It's not complex. It's not a bunch of goddamn research.
I don't have a problem
It's
with it.
straightforward. They know exactly what they have to do.
Showed all of us this. So what he's proposing is straightforward in a sense, because they can go to the website and they can do this, they can do that. I see what he's trying to do. I mean, he is trying to simplify it for them.
But we got to be careful to not go too simple that it's not functional. Say 7 years down the road, we got a different supervisor, different people in the office, and nobody was around with this. And someone comes in and says, I have a question about such and such a business there. What are they allowed? If you can pull this permit and say, well, yeah, they're allowed, and it's right here, and the person says, okay, I was just wondering, and can leave, and they don't actually pull out an ordinance and check back, was it the old ordinance or this one? This is so compact, brief, and complete, they can get things done quickly.
But again, it offers, and it happened during this. an opportunity for people to reword the wording. And that's what I'm trying to say.
So Ed, you went to the Tuscola County Planning Commission approved this document, right?
Yes,
Without some changes that occurred to it. They approved that
without the changes.
without the changes.
Yes.
So
To
we're
me,
trying to
I
get
would
rid
read
of
this
those changes.
document closely to what it is. Add a few things in, like your zoning. You said 10 Article 10.
Right.
What is it? 10.
Millington's the only one that says here.
Yeah.
So we
And add that in there.
Yes.
With maybe the status. Then you made a reference overnight, not just at one time. Correct that and make those corrections, but leave the document somewhat basically the same. Because that's what was approved by us, and it was approved by the Tuscola County Planning Commission.
And that was the request
But
of the Morrisons.
remove the things that was put into the document that we did not put in. I mean, that's my thoughts. That's why I thought we were here.
Well, to me, where I guess my concern comes is what happened. I look at when something happens, the engineer in me says, you try to put things in place so you don't allow it to happen again. We had wording that got changed. And by referencing the ordinance, puts in a corrective action that would not happen in the future. That's what I'm trying to
Put that in the status of permitting. Put the reference to that ordinance right in that status.
That would be in permit condition per the zoning ordinance. Like I have written in that.
Well, I think another thing that will change is that this board has learned its lesson and we will all be more aware. And so the change will be us. We don't need to do all this huge major upheaval. We can do this kind of ordinance with all of us checking our points and making sure there's nothing in there that we don't want, without tearing this all apart and redoing the whole thing.
And the way this is written, for us to do our due diligence, every time we do a new one, I got to do a wordsmith through every word of this document.
As we should. Really?
To make sure it hasn't changed when it was copied from the ordinance. So if we just reference the ordinance, I don't have to do a wordsmith on every dot, every I, every T, because I know it's referencing the ordinance. That just seems the logical way.
Is it okay with you if I take a picture of this so I can use it for my minutes? Okay.
I didn't want to send it out earlier because I didn't want to breach Open Meetings Act.
Yeah, just so I have your points to put in the minutes. Thank you.
I mean, we get to the same
tonight
conclusion.
We're this a lot quickly.
But I mean,
making the changes they requested.
I mean, it's taken a 3-page document that every time we got to wordsmith it. And then our procedure is we just reference the ordinance, which is what is approved by our board, the Tuscola County Board, everyone.
This document.
I think this is very workable. They've got issue with a few things. Those are the things, and probably the only things we should be discussing is what they have a problem with. We can review the whole thing and get ideas for what we will and won't do in the future. But if this fits them, except for their certain points, we shouldn't be changing that much.
Again, we had different verbiage slipped in, and I want to.
And that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. So I'm trying to do it so that won't happen in the future, and that they use the procedure that it doesn't allow it.
It happened because we didn't write the special use permit, period.
But even every time, even if I'm writing it, you copy, you paste, you miss, whatever.
But if we write this the way we want it, Then it just gets copied and used.
That's right here wasn't what isn't an
We
ordinance
need
that needs to be
special
included.
use permit. That is the
That's
way
my
we
thoughts.
want it.
But every time you're gonna have to go through and say, okay, this is special use permit for this item. You now have to copy it. I don't actually have electronic copy of the ordinance. You gotta then I'll get that, copy it, make sure I didn't reword anything. Instead, I'm just saying, why don't we just reference the ordinance section?
Well,
Reference the ordinance section and we're clean.
One simple reason.
What?
That doesn't give the information to the public.
That's right.
Why doesn't it give the information to the public?
People are walking around with this ordinance book.
It's
How many people are walking around with this ordinance book, Ed?
they don't have.
They're not. They don't have it. They got to come up here and get it.
No, they don't. It's on the website.
Then I can see where let's put a K and put that in there. Put a K in compliance with section 10 of Millington Township Ordinance, short-term rental amendment, and identify that as a K, but the rest of it stays in here.
You're just double dipping, but I guess.
Well, I mean, if you want it in there to reference what ordinances and when it was, I don't see a problem with that at all. But I think this stuff should stay in there for the most part. Where you see issues where it got added to or removed, like you said, permit conditions, it says at one time. No, it was for overnight. Overnight got removed. We need to put overnight on there and we need to move on. That's my thought.
you want to work with what we got? And get these
I'll work with what we got.
for right now. We can always come back to discussion on a different day.
I'm gonna make a motion that status of permit, along with the wording that is there, they also add the wording approved.
I would support that.
I'll second that.
All eyes.
On number 2.
Yeah.
And approve.
So we're automatically approving the permits.
And you.
When they get their final copy, it'll say approved.
It'll say approved. Status of permit is approved.
But if you
So we're going to vote on.
put it in
one
the
at a time.
permit,
He's
Yeah,
made one
yeah.
motion, we'll vote on them one at a time.
Doyle thinks if the status of permit says approved, that means it's approved before we approve it.
Ah,
But I would say if once we deliberate on it and we discuss it and we go through the special use permit as we go through it, as we write it all up, once it's done and the final draft comes back for us to look at the final draft to approve the final draft, that final draft will say approved on it.
Yeah.
And then it'll be signed.
okay.
But when the individual comes in, theirs will say approved on it. So they know that it was approved rather than it was just signed.
So for tonight, we're just doing this permit. We're not adding approved to all the others. I get you. So for his
For the one
motion
we're
is for this particular permit.
That would be,
To
the
make,
Status
verbiage
will
would
say
be
approved.
added.
add the word approved.
Are we okay with that?
Yeah, take a vote.
Match key? Everybody with eyes?
Aye.
Aye.
yeah,
All right, what else, Mitch, you got on your list?
I'll skip item 3, permit conditions. It reads, property owner may rent the premises to a maximum of 4 people at a time.
No, I should say overnight.
It should say overnight. I make a motion that we change the verbiage to 4 people overnight.
I'll second that.
Eyes.
yes.
Item C.
Hang on, Ed, you're getting ahead of it.
Oh yeah, we got
Okay, aye.
Aye.
item C. It states property owner and renters must observe quiet hours between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Why are we putting a quiet time on a property owner where we don't do it for any other person that owns property on the lake. I would say the property owner should be removed. We should just have it, the renters must observe quiet time. Because when, say, Paul Dudley wants to go out there and with his family, he now has additional requirements on him than his neighbor.
The zoning board of appeals, add that to one of them.
Yes.
But
They added it.
But they just wanted it for the renters. I don't think it was added that it would be, again, I went through this now with a fine tooth comb that I had time. The intent was never that the property owner would have those same requirements.
I think it
That
was
makes
kind of
sense.
thinking along the lines that the property owner would enforce, that the renters observe the quiet hours.
But the way it's written is the property owner must also shut everything down. His neighbor could be partying right next to him at 10 o'clock. He has to shut everything down. I mean, that's additional burden. Now, if it's a renter, okay, that's what the intent was.
So remove property owner.
Remove property owner.
Is that your motion?
I make a motion that the item C should read, the renter must observe quiet hours from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m.
I'll second.
Aye, Opperman.
Aye.
Melvin, Travis, aye.
No,
And I'd like to remove the other ones, but I don't. But now we get to item N.
You're going to skip over L, M.
You're right. We should do L and first.
Okay.
Correct. Item L and M.
One at a time.
Okay. Item L, I feel needs to be removed because it did not follow the formal amendment process. It was not voted on by the Tuscola County Board. It was not, in actually discussions with the township board, they were against it, but yet it was added back in.
I'll make a motion to remove letter L of the liability insurance due to what you just spoke of.
Second.
I do think, I want to make it clear that this is just, we're not telling them how much. The discussion at the township was, they thought it was, we were telling them how much liability insurance to have, and that wasn't it. It's just, we just want proof that they have insurance. That's it. That's what it is to me.
It was never in the document and voted on by this planning commission when we put this document together. It was added to the document. I say remove it. That's why I'm making a
I'm just
motion.
making that as a discussion.
All right, so we have a motion. Any more discussion?
Move it in its entirety.
Yes,
Uh,
And who seconded it?
I did.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Opperman,
Yes.
Maskey,
Yes.
Savage, yes. Mr. Azal.
No.
Item M, again, the planning commission shall review this permit annually, and the planning commission may revoke this permit. Any nonconformances that exist. That is actually part of our procedure already. It's not part of the amendment. Again, I feel it should be removed because it did not follow the proper amendment process to be added.
I agree.
You're making a motion.
I make a motion that we remove item M.
I'll second.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
No for me. Doyle, Fletcher,
Aye.
Maskey.
Yes.
This,
No.
remove it.
Item N.
That's what you.
I voted no.
Item N. The first two paragraphs match what's in our ordinance. However, our ordinance actually doesn't break them up into two paragraphs. It keeps it as a continuous one sentence, if you will, one paragraph. The third item, no permit shall be revoked under was added. Again, that did not follow the normal amendment process that was approved. I make a motion that under item N, paragraph 3 is removed.
I'll support it. Mr. Zell? Yea or nay?
No, I think that that needs to be there both for the protection of the property owner and the township. So I vote no.
Mr. Opperman?
Oh, yes.
Savage votes yes.
Yes.
Fletcher? Mansky?
Yes. Item O, property owners shall be required to pay annual fees to cover the cost of inspections and additional meetings of the planning commission as may be established by the township board. Again, that item did not follow the normal amendment process. I make a motion that item O is removed from this document.
Second.
Opperman? Yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Zell?
This was only if there were complaints and there needed to be an inspection. And that would only happen if they weren't following the rules. I think it's a good thing to have in there in case that happens. I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Maskey?
Yes.
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 Item P, the commission may, upon a request of the applicant or on its own initiative, modify the requirements of this permit upon such findings of need and justification and upon a formal special use permit amendment being made under the same procedures used for adopting this initial permit. Again, I think we already have ways to do that in our existing ordinance, and I feel this also did not follow the amendment process. So I make a motion that item P is removed.
You do realize that is what gives us the whole reason to be able to be here in the first place. And I think if we remove that, we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
No, it's an official document right now. We can use it, but not saying we can't change it.
And the person that has this permit will have no idea that's there. And then we'll have a problem if something happens. And again, this right here is what gives us the authority to be here, discuss these things, and make or remove changes or not.
We had a meeting previously where we asked for a special meeting and we make changes. I mean, that's part of our process. I mean, we don't need to have another paragraph stating it.
Read number 3 again from the lawyer opinion. Just to make sure that you understand what he said. What would be the need or justification to take that out of it?
Because
So
it
that
did
we
not,
can't do our job?
it did not follow the required amendment process.
And Ed, where in our ordinances can you reflect that says that similar thing right there?
I mean, I go back through it, but we've had special planning for meetings where we've done it.
Just curious, where would that be in our ordinance to do that? In decisions? Is that where it would be under, like decision? It didn't follow the right, it did not follow the process.
It did not follow the process. That's a given.
Yeah, that's a given.
In all the special use permits, we can put anything we want in.
Mhm.
Those-
Well, this is something approved by the lawyer.
Right, and the reason we're here tonight doing this is because we as a planning commission didn't put these in here. They were
Right.
put in after the fact. But we can keep any of them that we
Yeah.
want.
That's right. And I feel this is an important one to keep.
Want to make sure everybody knows that. We can
Excellent.
keep something if we want. That's that.
I actually think it's something that we should have.
But does it open it up for? I mean, I feel that option should be in our zoning law somewhere. Does it open up that these people will be under more scrutiny? That's the only thing I don't want to create.
I think that should be on all of our permits now and from here forward, so that we are able to make changes if a need comes up. Whether it's like he says, there might be an unintended consequence or some other change that we're not aware of at the time, and this allows us to fix that. I'll make a motion that we keep
1 second.
the.
So, I mean, here we have an option of upon recommendation, upon receiving a recommendation from the Township Planning Commission, the county board, township shall undertake conditions of the process to rezone or amendment. So right there under page 58, if we have direction from the board, we could then do what we're doing tonight. And we actually did have direction from the board to do what we're doing tonight. So we have it under section 20.04,
Tell me where, you said something about rezoning or changing the
Page
amendments.
page 58,
Yeah, what paragraph? This is a.
section 20.04 on page 58.
Okay, undertake, let's propose rezoning or amendment. This is a special use permit. This paragraph applies only to special use permits.
Yes.
This is something a little bit different there in 04. That's talking about rezoning or amendments to the whole ordinance.
The only way we should, if we was to leave that in there, the only way we should leave that in is make a motion that we accept that one. Because we didn't accept it, we didn't put it in there, we could make a motion to accept it.
Yes.
But I do believe we should make a motion to accept it because it did not follow the proper procedures.
Is that the motion you just made?
I'm just making a comment here. I mean, that's a thought of mine.
I think it's quite important, and I'll make the motion to accept this fee that upon request of the applicant or its own initiative, meaning this board, we modify the requirements of this permit upon such findings of need and justification, and upon a formal special use permit amendment being made under the same procedures used for adopting the initial permit.
I'll second. Now this is we're going to approve this item.
Yes, just that item.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one item, P,
And then we're voting to leave it in this permit.
and
Yes.
leave it in the permit.
Okay. To make that clear.
Roll call, Maskey.
No,
Fletcher.
Yes.
Peppermint.
Yes.
Ms. Frizell.
Yes.
I'm gonna say yes too. Okay.
the other thing I'd like to have clarification on is this document's already approved. And we got date of public hearing was August 12th, 2024. And date shall take effect with August 12th, 2024. Since we're rewriting it, okay, right? When we rewrite the next draft, could we change that to March 6th, 2025?
I think so.
That's a
Because
good
it's,
question.
Well, if we're gonna rewrite a special use permit that we're gonna stay with, then yeah, we could This is the date that we did it.
Okay.
To reflect today's date.
Okay, so I make a motion that the date of public hearing and the date permit shall take effect would be March 6th, 2025. And it
I'll
doesn't,
second.
Then could you include in your motion who's going to be rewriting this permit? We should definitely talk about who's doing the rewrite.
and I will, and Ed Mackey will rewrite it and send it out for review.
Yep. And because I was gonna say, when you do it by Monday, but no.
Be close. I might be able to. My short version is good, but I want to make sure I don't mistype anything.
So we're not putting a date on when you bring it back. It may not be until the April meeting. We're not gonna put a date on it. All right. So
We wouldn't put a date on it.
Oh, that I have to have it rewritten by?
right, we're not gonna say he has to have it rewritten by Monday.
Oh,
Our next meeting is
no.
Monday.
I mean, I'm going to target, but I mean,
So we'll just wait and do it.
Yeah,
We'll
I
sign
don't
them in.
think
We'll go
that's-
we'll go back over it and
Make sure.
then hopefully everything's good and we'll just sign it in April's meeting. Okay. All right, so you have a motion on the table. Do you know what the motion is? Mr. Jezza?
Ed moved to change the date after he rewrites the permit with the changes approved tonight. To the date that it's signed.
it'd be March 6th. That's the date of the meeting.
March 6th, okay.
We're gonna do this in two separate motions, so everybody knows. We're gonna vote on the change of the date, and then we're gonna vote on who's typing it up. It'll be separate, all right?
You want that, okay,
So keep them separate. There's no confusion that way on who's typing it up.
okay, so right now I got Ed change the date and rewrite it, so which one do we want to vote on first?
We're gonna vote on changing the date.
Okay,
Sorry, Mr. Jezza.
okay.
All right, so we're taking a vote on changing the date. Batchkey?
Yes.
Opperman?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Yes. So that's yes. I make a motion that we allow Ed to go ahead and type this up for us. And for the finalized draft. And to bring it back and present it to us in our April meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on that?
Say that again,
I make a motion that we allow Ed Maskey to type up the final draft and bring it back for our April meeting.
Or can I amend that? And possibly for the March meeting?
I want to say no because it's on Monday and I don't want to rush it. And then we have so much going
Other
on.
stuff? Okay, that's
And I want to be able to, for each one of us to have time to review it and time for us to read all of it. And then that way there's nobody saying that we were rushed, we hurried through it, we didn't read it. And then somebody say, well, Mashke put that in there and you guys didn't catch it.
That's understandable.
Okay, I don't want to be rushed.
And Alvin, we had talked about we might need to have another March meeting.
And we can just,
Can we say for our next meeting? Not next Monday, but or do we?
no,
definitely-
let's just leave it for
Let's just
April.
leave it at April.
Okay.
for an April meeting, if you think we're having more than one, or just.
No, we might have more.
April meeting, for our April meeting.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion on that?
Did you get a second? I missed it.
I'll second.
All right, roll call. Ashke?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is referring to the date change?
Nope, this is for Ashke's going to type up the final draft.
Yes.
All right. All right. So is there any other discussion on the Morris short-term? Okay.
I don't have any.
Okay.
The lawyer said we should be specific and list reasons. Did I miss the reasons? Mainly, all of these changes are because they weren't in the ordinance.
They were not voted by the planning commission. The original document, it was not approved by Tuscola County Planning Commission.
Hold on.
Mhm.
Okay, not voted.
Maybe let's say they were not deliberated by the planning commission.
Okay.
Not deliberated.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything else to add to it?
And then you said, what about the Tuscola County?
Pascagoula County, did not approve, planning commission did not approve these changes.
The township board.
And the township board didn't approve it. Again, it didn't follow the amendment process.
So originally, when we went to amend our ordinances for the short-term rentals, and we drafted up the amendment, L, M, and parts of N were in that original draft. The Pascagoula County made a recommendation for us to remove those. And then when it went to the township board, they made a recommendation to remove some of those. That is why this board is removing them, because we were recommended by 2 other boards not to add those to our amended ordinance for the short-term rentals. And these were not discussed on the original short-term rental drafts. We didn't add them. They were added by the zoning administrator, and that is why we're removing them tonight, because we were asked by the township board and by the county to not have these in our amended ordinances for the short-term rentals. That is why they're being removed tonight. Does that sum it up? Mm-hmm. All right, guys. So are we all satisfied with what we see on the Morrises now? So we're satisfied with what we have. Ed, you have everything you need to type up the new one. You've removed what we've asked on your draft, so you can draft up the new one for April.
And when I send that out, again, we don't want to have any public hearing violations. So I will send it out to the group. And I think we're legal if people send it just back to me if I miss something, not back to the group. We don't have to wait for the meeting. The same thing like when we look at your meeting minutes and stuff.
Right.
Don't send it back to the whole group.
No. Every short-term rental, or not every short-term rental, but every special use permit is unique to the property.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to standardize the whole thing, I think, is the wrong way to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
I do
Because
realize
each piece of property is unique, so each property is gonna, is,
Walk through each one.
gonna have to be. All right, so
So next would be,
let's move on.
I make a motion to close the planning commission meeting.
I support it. There are all the ayes.
I make a motion to open a special public hearing.
Support. So,
Aye.
aye.
Okay.
All right, so,
This one is for Paul.
yep.
I guess the one thing, maybe read it right. This one we have not approved yet at all.
No.
It's different, okay? But go ahead.
So this is Paul and Renee Dudley proposal for a special land use permit. Parcel ID number 017-001-230-2800-01, located at 3124 Houston Drive, Millington. Review pre-approved short-term rental special land use permit approval document content for correction. So that's why we're here. And is there any public comment on this one?
And I really do appreciate you guys changing that. But I guess when I sat there and listened to the last one that you didn't take out, I think that is super important and should not have been kept in our permit. I'm going to tell you why, and it matters to the other two if we don't get to change it. So when you get a special use permit and you put a lot of money into place to do a vacation rental or an auto repair shop, whatever that is, and there was an amendment voted and they allowed you to have it, so you went forward and did everything you needed to do to have that, because we plan on having this for 20 years. And now any panel of people come along, and that's what this says. Words mean something. That is right. Changing one word, very dangerous. It says at any time the zoning ordinance administrator and or the planning commission. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong one.
You.
Where'd it go? Okay, here it is, sorry. The commission may, upon the request of the applicant or on its own initiative, modify the requirements of this permit on such findings of need and justifications, and upon a formal special use permit amendment being made under the same procedures used for adopting this one. Okay, so we went through all of that. You guys, are the ones on the board and planning commission. Say we mix it up and we get a whole bunch of new people on the lake or whoever that are totally against it. We had permission. That's exactly what the grandfather clause is. Section 1501 is in the ordinance. Continued non-conforming uses permitted. If it was allowed by you guys, it should be allowed unless we do something to break that amendment. Anybody new moving forward, you can add something to. But as far as we're concerned, we should be allowed unless we do something that breaks the original amendment. So that has serious consequences when the people change on this panel. So I really want you to think about that. I know you already voted it out for ours, but again, we're here tonight because somebody added a bunch of words that didn't want this thing. And whether there was malice or not, we know Ms. Danzer was against this, the short-term rental from the start, and she did everything she could up until tonight. Here's the lawyer's recommendations. This was not voted on. We have had a 3-year battle over this, and now we've got these words in our permit that say right here, anybody that wants to change that, modify it, they have the reasoning to do that now. And I just feel like that's a very serious thing for people that already have the okay. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So I thank you for your good work, and then I assume mine will just follow more or less what the Morris's here, mine and Clark. The only thing, again, I haven't seen the final permit, but two quick things that were in there. One is I think the fence was one thing we were going to resolve to take that out because we got that resolved. Okay.
May I ask, who asked you to move that out?
Oh, it hasn't.
Wasn't it the neighbor or something?
Yes, yeah. So it was voted in. One of the conditions was to have the fence,
Yep.
and then my neighbor did write.
What was his name?
Nicotino.
And then we read a note by him tonight about.
Yeah, he just said, I prefer not fence. The issue is he drives his 4-wheeler down. He has to use both properties. So.
Right, we have a different letter from him also stating he didn't want that.
Mhm.
Okay,
Didn't want the fence.
yeah, this is the second.
Yeah.
What he issued tonight is his second letter. He has issued a previous one.
I thought it was him. Thank you.
Yeah, so I went ahead and got the survey previously because we actually were thinking of doing the fence. So as long as everything goes well, which I think it will, then we're not going to put up a fence. I just didn't want it to be a requirement for it.
Mhm.
And then if down the road a year or two later, we might put up a little fence, a short one in front of her. The second thing was, I think there was a bit of mix up on the number of occupied, or it was 6. The 6 was 6 people. It's actually 6 parking spots, and it shouldn't be 6 people. So we retain all for the last 3 years. We've had 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, roughly, nothing more than that. But we do have, infants and children and so forth. So if we could get the 6 occupants overnight.
How many bedrooms do you have?
3. But I have 2 living rooms and they have hide-a-beds. So a lot of time people use the hide-a-beds as well. So we have some of our continuing people that come back, 7 or 8. Usually, I think our most we've ever had has been 9, unless it's my family. My family, we've had up to 15. But for the renters, we've only had, the most we've had is 9. But it's just 9. I just didn't want to be limited by 6, if that's okay. And 6 parking spots is fine. I have 6 parking spots. Yes, I have the area on the other side of the road. I could have 9 if I needed, but 6 is fine.
Was that an original 6? Did we vote on 6?
Sleeping 6. Well, I never saw the final copy, but I'd heard in the drafts there was 6 overnight. I just wanted to get that painted if possible.
How many are you asking for?
Well, I'd like to not have any number, but if you want to put a number down, I'm okay. Could I put 9? That'd be okay. I don't ever see myself going over 9. So it'll hold 9 pretty easily.
that would be overnight,
Overnight.
not at one time.
Yeah, during the day there'll be more and going, that kind of thing. The relatives come over to visit, but just 9 overnight. Yeah. That's all. I think everything else is good. If you follow what the board has had, I'm probably happy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to speak on the one that we allowed this thing in there. What you've done here is open up Pandora's box for future board members, not yourself, you've proven yourselves. Anybody, you've seen what we've been up against the last 3 years, all the name calling, everything else, false accusations. All they gotta do is change 2 board members on this board. And with those 2 board members in the land, they could do anything they want to us. You guys need to put some kind of stopgap measure in there where we're notified or something, because something in there that even says they have to notify us if things change anything. So I would ask you guys put some type of protection for us in the future, and then also revisit this and eliminate it. Because it wasn't really in there before. We discussed it before in the past, and we all disagreed with it, and now all of a sudden it's there. And I appreciate you guys revisit it. Thanks for your time.
Anyone else? Okay.
I move that we close this special public hearing. Or sorry, for Douglas.
Second. Opperman,
Yes.
Savage, yes. Fletcher.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, who seconded that?
I did.
Okay.
I motion that we open up the special meeting now. Special hearing.
I'll second that.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Opperman, yes.
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 Okay, you guys. So on the Dudleys, do we
Want to walk through like we did the other one then?
need to probably walk through it just like we did the other one?
So this first one is status of permit. I make a motion that we add approve.
On the final draft, make the motion that we on the final draft,
Yes.
the status of the permit shall reapprove. I'll support that. Any other discussion?
The final word. And
So-
the words right.
On the final draft, it would they approve.
Yes. All right, Fletcher,
Yes.
Maschke.
Yes.
Savage, yes. Opperman.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, go to the next one, please.
So this one we probably have, I mean, we've had a request for permit conditions for
Okay,
you change from 6 to 9 for overnight guests.
he has 3 bedrooms and he does have 2 living rooms.
Right.
So he does have the space to accommodate them comfortably. So there's not an issue there. I'm not sure why in the original one we would have put 6.
I don't know why.
Is it because he only had 3 bedrooms, so we figured 2 guests per bedroom?
Probably, yeah.
Is that what the ordinance said? Is
No,
that where it came
ordinance
from?
does not limit
The
it.
ordinance doesn't
We
limit
did.
it. We did it.
Oh, this is something we put in.
Did we put that in there because of the number of bedrooms?
Might have been.
Okay, so on that note, what do you guys want to do with that? Because he does have the space, and he has 6 parking spaces.
Right.
So he has plenty of parking. He does have 3 bedrooms. And I do know on some of the other ones that when they requested for the number of guests, they had sleeping on a sofa bed. And we allowed 2 guests there and then 2 in the bedroom. So
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to change it from 6 guests,
6 overnight guests.
6 overnight guests to 9 overnight guests.
I'll second that.
Okay. Fletcher?
Yes.
Garzell?
Yes.
Opperman?
Yes.
Maskey?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Item C, I make a motion that we remove property owners.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
We got to vote, right?
You gotta let her catch up.
Remove the words property owner.
Property owners and so it'd be just the renters.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Okay, roll call. Maskey?
Yes.
Savage, Opperman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
All right, anything else on this one, on the front page, I don't think.
Yes, no, there is. So on this actually has item D, property owner must add and maintain a split rail fence.
We need to remove D.
Yep. Based on letters from the neighbors, 2 letters now. I make a motion that we remove item D requirement.
Or
So D would actually.
We're just referencing this document. This
Okay.
document.
So actually, would you still go A through D? Would D be removed or the information under D currently and everything else?
So item under D, which is E, will become D then.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a support. Roll call. Fletcher?
Well, I really got a problem here because of the distances. And that was one of the reasons for this. And I think we're going to end up with a problem. But I guess we'll deal with it down the road. So, yes.
Maskey?
Yes.
Opperman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell? Yes. All right.
Okay, moving on to item L. Well, not my area. Item L is item M. Item M is the liability insurance shall be maintained. I make a motion to have that removed because it did not follow the amendment process.
Second that.
Any
So
discussion?
how do we get?
They'll be different because there's one extra letter.
D was the extra for the fence.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we got a motion, we got to second it. There's no more discussion. Maskey?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yeah.
That was Jess. Opperman?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
no. Insurance is an important thing, but
All right, so now we got N. The Planning Commission shall review the permit annually, and the Planning Commission may revoke this permit if non-compliance exists. I believe N should be removed due to the simple fact that it's not something that was put in by the Planning Commission. It's not in their ordinances, and I don't believe it belongs in there. My opinion.
this is concerning just to review the permits so that we know what we have. And if there has been a complaint, then we can check things out. But if it's like, okay, we got 4 short-term rentals, no complaints, okay, we know we have 4 short-term rentals. Moving on, we have 5 dog kennels, special use, okay, no problems with those. It's more, this references more that we know how many permits we have, and the only time there would be anything done, other than keeping account, would be if there were complaints. And I don't know if you don't have a review, things get shoved under the rug and get lost. And that's why this is in here.
But we already have developed a complaint log that we review now. So we would know if there are complaints against them.
In my opinion, it's not the Planning Commission's diligence to keep track of the complaints. It's the zoning administrator's job to keep track of the complaints. And if she has a complaint on someone that's on a special use and they're non-compliant, to bring it to our attention to review it to maybe make the next steps of revoking it. But it has to go through like a process before it should hit us. They should get the letter of the noncompliance. They should have the opportunity of taking care of the noncompliances and coming up to status quo for their special use. And if they don't, it should be a process before it comes to us. Otherwise, we're going to end up in legal battle. It's not for us to look and say, hey, they had a noncompliance on theirs. Did they ever, was there any outcome to this? Did they come up to compliance? I mean, that is something that the zoning administrator should be doing. And by the time it gets to us, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. It's to us because
That's the
there is.
protocol that's in place, and
Right.
that's how it would happen.
But
Before it gets here, for us to review, she would have all those facts and items checked out and taken care of, and then bring the report to us.
that's why I don't really see why N really needs to exist in it, because that is a protocol that's going to take place no matter what. I mean,
But if that we can revoke the permit if there's non-compliance, how?
that's part of
We've
our
got
ordinance.
that in there.
That's already in our ordinance.
That's already.
But it has to go through all the
They
steps.
violate
The violation
In the short-term rental.
in all of them.
Any
of them. It's
special
part of the
use.
ordinance.
Then
It is part of the ordinance. I mean, it's just rewritten from the ordinance into this. And if it's not, it should be in the ordinance. Written like this. Most definitely.
To me, the way this reads is that we have to review these permits annually, every year.
Right.
And we've got plenty enough work.
we
If
also
there's a
have plenty of
problem-
permits out there that nobody knows where they are, what they are, how many, and that is our responsibility to keep track of the special use permits, that current and old, to make sure that everything is following the ordinance. This is just the reviewing the permits annually is, I mean, it doesn't say you have to do them all on a Thursday. You can do half of them in the first half of the year, the others in the second half. We can set some kind of a review up that will fit our schedule, but they do need to be reviewed and monitored, because that is what the planning commission's job, that's part of our job.
And again, that would be something if we rewrite our ordinances and we would make an amendment, we could possibly add that. But this did not follow that procedure.
Is that in our bylaws, Mr. Arzo?
I think so. It's in like the job description. I've read it before.
Seems like
And,
I read it,
and
too.
with past practice not having,
It's never been done.
great, but it's something we need to do.
Something that we need to look into
Mhm.
in the future. Okay, so where are we going with this, guys? Let's move on. On the discussion of it. Does anybody have a motion?
Are you making a motion? I haven't heard.
There's no.
There's no motion.
I'll make a motion to remove that from this permit.
I'll second that.
All right, so we got a motion and a second.
And that's to remove in its entirety.
Yes.
Etchke,
Yes.
Fletcher, yes. Zavich, yes. Opperman,
Yes.
Mr. Zoll.
No,
Yes, from the two. Item O. Again, the third paragraph is not part of our ordinance. I make a motion that we retain the information that is in item O, paragraph 1 and 2, and have them worded identical to our ordinance.
I'll second.
what's different, Ed? Just that they're separated and not,
No, the third paragraph would be removed,
okay.
and that they are
Retain
separated.
the first two sentences and remove the third sentence. Right.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second on that?
Motion.
Oh, you made a motion, I'll second that.
Opperman?
Yeah.
Zavis says no. Fletcher?
Yes.
Etchke?
Yes.
Mr. Zoll?
No,
Item P reads property owner shall be required to pay annual fee to cover the cost of inspections and additional meetings of the planning commission as may be established by the township board.
I move we remove that.
Is that your motion?
I would amend that motion due to it doesn't follow the amendment process.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Because
Yeah.
it didn't follow the amendment process.
Correct.
Roll call. Opperman,
Yes.
Maskey,
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
It's Drizel.
No,
David says yes.
Item Q, I'm just gonna put it on the table. If we had additional discussion about it.
So
So we actually voted to approve this,
Yeah,
right?
in the last
Yeah.
one, yes.
So we're good then.
we need a motion on what we're going to do with Q.
I move we leave it.
So we have a motion to leave Q in. Do we have a second?
support.
For support, thank you. Roll call. Maskey,
No?
Fletcher,
Yes.
Savage, yes. Opperman,
Yes.
Yes,
The date of hearing and date of effectiveness. So this one's interesting. So this has never been signed. So is there a reason we can't go back to the original date of the public hearing? Because what we're really doing, it's never been approved where I'm at. We're just making sure the wording in this is
but
correct.
tonight's public hearing is the draft of it.
It's the last of it.
It would be my thought of it.
And I'm trying to figure
You know
out,
what I mean? My opinion is
Today.
Yeah.
you think we should use
I
today's date?
agree.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I
Because
wanted
we've never really approved it officially and
Ratifying it tonight.
we're modifying it, so let's just put today's date.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up, that's all.
Yeah.
Is that your motion, Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
I'll second it. Roll call. Opperman,
Yes.
Maskey,
Yeah.
Fletcher,
Yeah.
Savage, yes. Mr. Val.
yes, no. You second.
And then last, I guess, I'm making a motion that Ed Maskey will take the document and present it during the April planning commission meeting.
Second.
Ed Maskey will present the final draft
Final draft.
of the special use for the Dudleys in the April meeting.
Yeah.
All right. Roll call. Maskey,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Savage, yes. Opperman, Mr. Val.
Yes,
All right. So on the Dudleys, it's my opinion we made those changes because they were added after the fact. They were added once the original draft was drafted by this planning commission and left our hands. There was stuff added to the original draft that wasn't approved by this planning commission. That is why we went back through the Dudleys to correct the changes that were made to the draft.
Plus, again, the additional items were not did not go through the official amendment process, and planning commission did not deliberate on each item individually previously. There's votes on it, but we did not deliberate.
But this one was never finalized.
Again, it was
Yeah.
never, but
And we're having another public hearing. So as a planning commission, I don't think we even have to have the Dudleys come to us and ask us to revisit his, because it was never finalized. So it's never been final, it was never finally signed by this planning commission and approved.
Correct, it never
So
was.
never was. So we had decided to have another public hearing to go back through it because we know this final draft had changes that we did not approve. That is the answer to the attorney. I want to make a motion to close this. Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Roll call, Fletcher. Yeah. Copperman. Yeah. Savage, yeah. Maskey.
Yes.
Mr. Zell.
Yes, and seconded it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to open the special public hearing for Rachel Opperman and Cody Clark.
Okay, I would ask if Mr. Hopperman would sustain himself from this portion of the meeting and
Yes, due to conflict, will be removed myself from the table.
That makes sense. I missed that item.
no, you're fine.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate you doing work.
Okay, so
Want to go share with you guys?
and this you ready?
So, go ahead, read it.
The special public hearing is for Rachel Opperman and Cody Clark proposal for the special land use permits. Parcel identification number 0170014511400-00 located at 7655 Osborne Drive in Millington. Review already approved short-term rental special land use permit approval document. Content of correction. Is there any public comment on this one? No. All right, we have no public comment. We're going to move forward.
I move that we close public comment.
I support it. Roll call, Fletcher. Yeah. Travis, yes. Paskey.
Yes.
Mr. Zell.
Yes,
I motion that we open the planning commission meeting.
I'll second it.
Fletcher. Yes. Paskey.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so on the Clarks.
So, status of permit, I make a motion that we add the verbiage approved, and it would be approved after signed. That section.
Second.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Right.
Second.
Roll call, Fletcher.
Yes.
Paskey.
Yeah.
Savage, yes. Mr. Zell.
yes,
Let's move on.
Your permit conditions,
Let's see.
item A. I make a motion that it should read 4 people overnight.
A second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Maskey.
Yes.
Fletcher.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Zell.
yes,
All right, let's move on.
Under item C, I make a motion that we remove property owner and.
A second.
Any discussion? Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, Maskey.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fletcher, Zavich, Mr. Zell.
yes,
Under item L, for liability insurance shall be maintained. I make a motion that we remove that paragraph in its entirety. Did not follow the amendment process.
Any discussion?
I still think it's important. didn't follow, what you were, didn't follow
The amendment.
the amendment process. Okay,
Maskey,
Yes.
Yes.
Fletcher, Davich, yes. Mr. Zell,
no,
Item M, planning commission shall review this permit annually. I make a motion that a paragraph is removed in its entirety. It did not follow the amendment process.
I'll second.
any discussion?
and three.
Roll call. Fletcher,
Yes.
Maskey,
Yes.
Davich, yes. Mr. Zell,
No,
Under item N, I make a motion that the third paragraph is removed and the first and second paragraph match what is in our existing ordinance.
I'll second.
and as far as that, Ed, just to clarify, it's just, it should be
It's
one
it's
paragraph,
one paragraph.
not two separate paragraphs.
Correct.
Mhm. And okay,
roll call. Maskey,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Davich, yes. Mr. Zell,
no,
Okay, item O. Property owner shall be required to pay annual fee, etc. I make a motion that that is removed in its entirety because it did not follow the process.
I'll second.
any discussion?
no,
Roll call. Mr. Zell,
no,
Maskey,
Yeah.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Davich, yes.
Well, the commission may require applicant or on its own initiative to modify requirements. I move we remain that. That remains within the document.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Roll call. Mr. Zell,
yes,
Savage, yes. Fletcher,
Yes.
Mr. Maskey,
No. Date of hearing and date permit shall take effect. I make a motion that that would be March 6th, 2025.
I'll support that motion. Any discussion? Roll call. Maskey,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yes.
Davich, yes.
yes.
Uh,
And Ed, you gonna do this one too?
Yep. I'd make a motion that we allow Ed to type up the final draft on this and present it to us in the April meeting
For approval.
for the final signature and approval of the final draft.
I'll second.
Call. Maskey,
Yes.
Fletcher,
Yeah.
Savage, yes. Mr. Zell.
Yes,
Any other old business?
I do
Or new
have some
business, I mean.
old business. This is our regular meeting time.
Yeah.
I do have some old business regarding our thing on Monday, the
Training.
the workshop.
Workshop,
Everything else.
yeah.
Let's get a hold of anybody and get any responses.
I asked Mr. Loomis if he would talk to the fire chief and stuff, because he knew him personally.
I did text him that he's planning on being here unless something comes up.
We had the whole list that Ken sent you. I was kind of wondering how many cookies and how much coffee do we need? And since the emergency service coordinator up to still wasn't contacted and he can't make it on Monday, and because we had planned to have all these quite a few people invited because it's such a big issue, especially now that it's not just the solar, it's the battery storage units that is going to be the problem because if they catch fire, we're stuck. So the whole area needs to know about that. And inviting all these other people is a very good idea. So I would like to make a motion that we cancel the renewable energy workshop to Monday, March 10th, and move it maybe to April. We'll pick what up another date. If Adam is available, to fit it in the schedule on that day.
Is that gonna be a conflict with, Adam on changing it?
I talked to him and he gave me 3 Mondays he was available, and that is one of the Mondays he's available. Because we hadn't heard back from anybody, we don't want to pay Adam a whole bunch of money to come here and talk to 6 people. When we can do this as a region, and as with the solar, it is getting to be more of a regional, not just Millington Township does with them. You know, if we work in coordination with Avila, then we got to have this fire fellow for the whole county in on it to help our firemen, because our firemen would never be able to put out a fire. They give you like $5,000. We got the update when we went to Lansing here on Tuesday. They give you like a one-time, I don't know, it's $2,000 or $500,000. Here, train your guys. But we don't have the equipment, and we never will.
I don't think those batteries can be put out.
Yeah,
They let it burn.
That's the thing. They don't want to tell you. So we need our emergency service coordinator from the county involved. Okay, here's what we know. Here's our plan, and we can pull all these people together. So since Adam is available on the 14th, is it the board's?
I would rather not have it on our normal day because we do have other items to do. If we're gonna move it, we need.
Well, we could get an agenda together, like tonight, real quick. Pick some items that we want to work on, and do those Monday. We can get them up on the agenda Friday morning. Have a regular meeting this Monday.
But there's so many notices out for the special meeting already.
But
But who?
right, is anybody
It's
gonna
just
show
our
up? Or is it gonna be like a container where no one shows up?
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying.
If we didn't get any responses back here at the office or otherwise,
I'm not saying we don't
Yeah.
cancel it. I'm just saying there's, we pick a different day than our normal April meeting.
okay,
Oh.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
the other 2 dates were both Mondays in April, but one of them is the township board. So it would have to be the next April, date was 28. He's available 14, 21, and 28.
How's your guys' schedules look for the 28th?
More likely it would be fine.
I hate to block up another Monday too.
That's fine with me. That's you have your calendar look for the 28th.
Always doing it, yeah.
We'd be back at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock was good for him.
So it's canceled for Monday, Luann?
If we vote on it, yeah.
Okay.
The motion's out there.
Oh, I just asking, I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine. But also just remember, we've only got so much room, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, we could always set up in the fire department, but I mean,
yeah, I don't think we had that many.
okay.
The list you sent you wasn't that long.
No.
Had like 10 names on it or 12 maybe. So we could. I'm not sure how much real interest the township.
You got a hold of
Citizens
there as far
will.
as zoning board of appeals?
I don't think so, not yet. We've got to vote on it, but.
Yeah.
So I'm done vote for Monday.
No, I haven't talked to anybody yet because
Oh,
I needed the approval of the board.
I don't have a problem with it. I should be able to make it.
Okay. And we've got enough time. If it's really a big problem, I can check with Adam. Maybe he'll have a Thursday or something. But when I talked to him and told him we hadn't had a good response and we wanted to get the word out, that we might be canceling. What other dates would you be available if we have to reschedule? That's how I approached them. So,
Okay, so we have a motion.
No,
Yeah.
second.
Majeski?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
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 Luann,
yes. Okay.
we'll invite Matt Beerline. I understand he's got a lot of knowledge or information on that,
Okay.
our representative.
And I move that we tentatively approve April 28th. And I'll check with Adam to see if there are other dates.
I'll second.
Okay.
Majeski?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Jerza, would you like to try and contact a list of people?
Yes,
Would you like to?
I'll be glad to do that. I got more time than you do, I think.
I think I'm doing it right now, actually.
So I will volunteer to send out the word.
So I'd like to make a motion that we allow Luann to go ahead and contact everyone on the list and anyone else that she feels would be someone in the interest of this and get the word out.
I'll second.
Majeski?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
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 Now, about our meeting on Monday, since our meeting on Monday was full of this solar panel stuff, solar panel, what do you guys want to do with our meeting on Monday?
We have to send out public notices for the Midwest Auto, correct?
Yeah, we probably need to talk about.
We need to do both of those.
Yep.
But we've got to send
Now, has
notices
he
out.
come to us?
No, he does not have a problem with what's on his,
Then maybe we should leave his alone.
I don't think it's a good practice to have
No.
Yeah, but again,
have things look different than what the other permits.
the thing from the lawyer said, why are you doing this if there was no request? Why?
Well, again, I guess we identify.
That doesn't show a
Because-
need or justification is what his words are.
Well, our justification is it didn't follow the amendment process.
Absent a request by the permit holder, there really isn't an issue worth raising. So I would like to know if each permit holder on the agenda tonight had a request. And they did, but he doesn't.
I think his permit should, there was stuff added to his permit that was not voted on by this board. Having it.
If we have to hold a special hearing again, is he going to be responsible for the charge? The cost?
No, it seemed like this one, we're
These
correcting the
people-
errors that were made.
We're correcting our mistakes. Why should he have to pay?
Right.
No, it's-
Yeah, they need to be correct. It needs to be corrected.
that is nothing that we can do on Monday. you
Right,
guys.
right.
That-
Nothing to money.
But I guess the one thing we should look at, we have it on Monday as we discussed when we wanted to do
Yes,
those
well,
hearings and so on.
I'm asking about that because is that something we want to add to the agenda for old business, Midwest special use permit? Changes. We're just adding to the
Yep, we'd have that.
to
as
the
part of
agenda.
our
We're not going to discuss it now. We don't need to. It's just something
Right.
that we can discuss Monday.
Yep.
And what was the topic? Discuss
Whether or not we need to go back and look at his special use permit if there was changes made to it after the final draft.
And we're doing, it'd be both the auto sales and the gravel pit.
You should do them the same night.
The gravel pit had changes made to his
Yes.
Several.
on his special use after it was
There's
finalized.
two major problems with that. One,
But we can
it was supposed.
Well,
let's put it on the agenda.
Are we
right?
just going to put it on the agenda? We'll get it on the agenda, then we can sit and discuss it then, okay?
discuss changes?
To his special use.
Do we want to do anything with the containers? Or did we get that all wrapped up?
No, we haven't done anything with the containers yet.
Okay.
It seems like we just keep pushing it on and leaving it alone. So we either need to
That'd be under old business.
old business too. We either need to have a discussion on them, what we're going to do with our ordinances with them, or if we're just going to leave it alone and let it run out its course, we need to come up with what we're going to do. So we need to discuss the containers, and we all need to come to that meeting with making a decision on what we want to do. We're either going to visit our ordinances and make amendments, or they're going to be not allowed as it sits in our ordinances now, and our administrator, zoning administrator, will have to deal with that, and the township board can deal with
Let's have discussions about it. Ed, can you bring on that documentation you had previously? That was very useful.
Yeah.
You had a lot of information.
So that's probably plenty to keep us busy.
So I guess the other thing is from the last township meeting, we have 2 items that we passed that are going to the zoning board of appeals. We need to discuss that.
Yes, that's new business. We need to discuss the appeals that are going to the zoning board of appeals, because we need to discuss whether or not we want someone to represent the board, or how we're going to handle anything of that nature with them. And if we want to get added to their agenda. So we'll discuss that for new business.
So I'm just running through my head. So if we have that posted tomorrow, I'll work on that.
Mhm.
We're legal then for Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, 18 hours.
Was it 18? Okay, I had 72 in my head for some reason.
Yeah, I am pretty sure it's 18.
Okay, so you understand, so you know where I was like, okay.
Is there anything else, because since the meeting will hopefully be a lighter meeting, is there anything else that you guys would like to discuss, or something that we need to maybe discuss that we've been putting off?
At
For
some
new
point, we
business.
need to kind of figure, Tammy had found a bunch of old ordinances.
Yes.
If we could review those and just see
haven't
what
picked
we
up
got,
on
and then we can
So-
form a plan of how we need to.
So, and with that, I'd rather have her send, can't we have those sent out prior to the meeting so we can review them?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, she had a list of them somewhere.
But, I mean,
It'd be
And,
helpful.
you know, if you go through your files, you're gonna find stuff. I was going through my old files and I'm finding noise ordinances from the county and trash, you know, from years back. It's like, whoa. So if we all bring in what we got and she gets what she finds, sends it to us, then we can get the first step going for organizing all of that.
So are you gonna let them know that we would like those documents sent to us?
Yes, yeah.
That will be
Is
helpful.
there a folder in your office for me?
What's that?
Did Jackie have a folder of
All
non-amended
old
ordinances that were never amended?
That I couldn't tell you, Alvin.
You didn't ask
I
her?
think she probably does.
You didn't get a chance to ask
No,
her?
actually,
And I keep forgetting to call
to
you.
be
So.
quite honest with you, I forgot about it.
Okay, is there anything else?
That might be enough.
Okay.
Not to butt in, but I've had a few people ask me about the, shipping containers, so
that's really.
they said they're working on it, that's what I told them.
So you will bring documentation about that was, could you send that out to us? Or is
I'll
there-
look for it.
There was a
I
lot.
sent
to
it
that.
out. I'm sure I got it electronic. I sent it out once, so I'll find it again.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody want a motion to?
Can I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second it. Roll call. Compliment,
Yes.
Fletcher, Ashley, Mr. Bell.
Oh, half the week has been working half the night, abbreviated meeting.
Big you want to get rid of them.